All right, so it's just a crazy story before we jump into the bulk of this video because it's pretty insane. So I got the PSVR2 a couple weeks ago, and when I got it, I was thinking like, man, I got to find a way to better record my audio because obviously I usually use this Shure SM7B, which is the industry standard. It's really good. I use it for my music as well, which by the way, if you want to check out, it's called 7 Minutes After. It's going to be linked down in the description below. Anyways, I use it for some of my music as well as, other mics. It's just a great mic, especially for commentary, voiceover, vocals, different things like that. I love this thing. But the problem was when I'm recording stuff like PSVR2, I'm moving my head a lot, right? I'm moving away from the mic. I have to make sure that I'm away from it so I don't smack it like I did a couple times. So I got to push it back and I got to move back. And the thing with a dynamic mic like this is it's meant to be kind of up close and personal. So you hear the beauty of the tones of the voice. And so the point being is that when it's far from you, then I got to increase the post gain. And then that kind of, adds a little bit of a weird kind of, more echoey, roomy sound. It just throws off what it's supposed to sound like, right? And it just makes things a little bit more tricky. So I was looking up on Amazon and looking up on YouTube, what is the best microphone that you can maybe just clip on the side, like some kind of wireless microphone. And this was the one that was recommended by every single person. I was looking at it and I wanted to buy it, but I had just spent obviously some, hefty money on the PSVR2. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to wait it out a little bit. I'm just going to kind of ride it out for now. And so the crazy thing by like the providence of God, and that's like the only way that I can explain this, is like 2 or 3 days later, I'm not even kidding you, I got an email from the company that makes this microphone asking me if I want to review this exact microphone, and they would send me it out for free. And I was like, dude, that is absolutely crazy. So lo and behold, we are here. I have the microphone in my hand. We're going to be testing it out. We're going to be reviewing it. I'm going to give you an unbiased review. Yes, I got the product for free, but I'm not getting paid. I'm not obligated to say anything. I'm completely 100% transparent. Now, I got to say this every single time. Everything's subjective, right? At the end of the day, my opinions are my opinions. You may agree or disagree. I'm going to give you as much information about this thing as I possibly can, and then you can take it from there. Now, let's just quickly talk about, before we talk about everything that's in it, what is this thing even for? Who is it for? It's great for a variety of different people, right? So you got like obviously content creators or just people that want kind of microphone, let's say on their VR headset. That's wireless, so they can move around, they can record while they're in VR, different things like that. So that's the application I'm going to be using it for personally. Now you also have other people that maybe have a great gaming headset, but you don't have any kind of, you don't have any kind of great microphone with it. And so maybe you just want this thing on your headset, right? So you can have a little bit of a better microphone, and especially one that's maybe like wireless. Maybe you have wireless headphones already and you just need a wireless, microphone to go with it for whatever reason. Then again, that's going to be good for you. And there's a variety of different applications. Maybe there's some other application you're thinking of that I'm not. Those are just a couple ideas. So when you do get this thing, it comes in just like a nice little neat box with some, information on it, good things like that. When you open up the box, you're going to be greeted with a surprisingly nice little carrying case that holds all of the stuff that is going to be contained within. Very nice presentation. Has sort of like a leathery feel. Obviously, I don't think it's genuine leather, but it's probably like faux leather or whatever. I'm not really sure the material, but again, it's kind of like a rubbery, leathery sort of feel. You open that up, you unzip it, and you're greeted with all the stuff that is inside, which is of course the microphone. There's like these elastics to kind of hold everything in place and whatever. In the case, you of course have all the cables you need, the receiver, you have the magnetic attachments, the adhesives, and different things like that. So you'll find everything that you need within obviously the manual as well, and all that good stuff. So again, very nice presentation. I was quite surprised with how nice everything was, especially that it came with a little kind of carrying case. I thought that was really cool. Just like a nice little added bonus. So getting things set up, let's talk about that before we get into the whole, testing side of things. Well, there's basically this little USB receiver that looks like a USB flash drive, if you will. You can plug that directly into your PC. But if your PC is being blocked, maybe it's under your desk and, so the signal, you don't have a clear shot right to your microphone. Well, they provide a USB cable that's about, I would say, estimating 3, maybe 4 feet. I'm not really sure the length, but it's a decent length that you can extend it. So you plug one end into the USB receiver, the other end into your PC, and so then you can just put the receiver on your desk, which is what I did, and I have a perfect clear shot to my microphone, which is like I don't know, maybe 3 feet away from my head. It's perfect. So no interference between the receiver and the microphone itself. The other cable it comes with is actually meant for, if I can find it, 1 second. Here it is. The other cable is meant for charging this thing, because again, it's wireless. You're going to need to charge it, right? So it's micro USB. My camera is probably not going to focus, but micro USB, and it just plugs into the side of the microphone there. And you plug it in, and that's how it charges. And again, if it's dead or you need to, charge it and you still need to use it at the same time, it's about a 3-foot cable. Plug it into your PC if it's close enough. Plug the micro USB in, or I guess you could buy a longer micro USB to USB A cable if you would like to, if you need a longer one, and you can actually use this thing while it's plugged in. Easy peasy. So that is another use for it as well. In terms of battery life, they're saying that it lasts about 12 hours. I haven't got to really kind of hard test that myself yet, but judging from what I've seen online and other people using it, because again, remember, I looked up a bunch of other reviews before I was reached out about this microphone, and what I heard from a lot of other people online is that it definitely lasts for that 12 hours. Now, I would obviously plug it in after each use, making sure that you don't kill it. You don't kill it while you're in the middle of doing something or whatnot. You're in the middle of a session, because that would be bad. So it doesn't hurt to plug it in after every use, just to make sure it's always topped off. So that's the setup portion. Very easy to set up, very convenient. In terms of the microphone itself, if you click on the side here, so I'll just show you guys. If we click on it right here, you can see that a blue light turns on the microphone. So that blue light indicates that it's connected to the receiver. You'll also see a solid light on the receiver as well. If that blue light is flashing, then that means that if it's flashing slow, it's trying to connect. If you are not able to connect it, I would either unplug the USB receiver and plug it back in. If that doesn't work, then what you do is there's a button on the receiver. You hold that down, as well as you hold this button down for 5 seconds, and it'll start blinking very fast, the blue light. And then eventually it'll start blinking slow, and then it should go back solid, meaning it's connected to the receiver. If that doesn't happen, again, try disconnecting it and reconnecting it. Hopefully you'll be good to go. Now, if you click it once while it's turned on, you'll see another light turn on, which is red. I know it looks orange, but it's technically red. And that means the mic is muted. You click it again, it's unmuted. And what's really helpful is when you do this, you actually see a red light on your receiver as well. So if you are able to see your receiver, then you can see whether it's muted or unmuted. Now, some people may wonder, is this thing very easy to accidentally mute? The answer is absolutely no. First of all, the button is very easy to find without having to look. So if you feel the texture on the surrounding area, it's very kind of smooth, plasticky, but the button itself has like a rubbery texture. So if you touch that, it's very easy to find the button. If I just slide my finger across, I'm like, oh, that's easily the button. My finger just kind of sticks to it. In terms of clicking it, you have to put some force, you have to put some pressure behind it. You're not going to accidentally mute this unless you're really pushing it. And even if you are, you're going to feel the click of it. You're going to feel it click. So I don't think you're going to ever accidentally mute this thing. So do keep that in mind. That's well done. In terms of the microphone itself, if we flip it over on the other side, you can see that there's a switch there. That switch is to turn it between omnidirectional and unidirectional. Unidirectional is basically cardioid, which is what I have it on now. So the switch that is closest to the little kind of windscreen, which we'll talk about in just a second, because it's not much of a windscreen in all honesty. I guess it helps. Excuse me, I guess it helps a little bit, but you're going to want to keep it away from your mouth. So unidirectional means it's going to be basically, it's cardioid. It's going to be receiving just from this end, from the inside, right? So if you're just playing alone, you're just talking alone, you don't want any room sounds, or you want to cut out as much room sound as possible, you're going to be using that switch right there, cardioid, unidirectional. You only want it to pick it up here. Omnidirectional means it's going to pick up from both sides of the microphone. So if you want to pick up the room sounds for whatever reason, or maybe there's someone sitting beside you, you want to pick up their voice a little bit, then it can pick up from both sides with the omnidirectional. So the fact that you actually have this option with this microphone does add a little bit of value to it, in my opinion, as well. And then in terms of attaching it to something, there is these little round magnetic things. So I'm going to show you actually my PSVR2 headset right here, which I've already kind of installed this little thing on, which is very easy to do, by the way. So you can see on the side here, it's a little magnet, and it's like a round magnet. It sticks with adhesive. Now I have taking this on and off of the headset a couple times, it's not going to ruin your headset. It's not going to leave any kind of glue. It's a good adhesive that binds strongly, strong enough to hold that microphone, but not strong enough that it's going to ruin whatever you're going to be sticking it to. They give you 2 magnets, so if you want to have, a magnet set up on 2 different devices, that you're going to be alternating between. You also get 2 extra adhesives for the bottom of these things, so you can just pick off the adhesive off the magnet and replace it if you need to, which I did because I ended up ruining the first one because I had to keep putting it on and off because I didn't know where I wanted to place this thing. In terms of sticking the microphone on, extremely easy. It's just a magnet, and there's like these little grooves, so it's going to lock into place. It's not going to swing around. So there's like these little grooves, and you just kind of clip it on and you're good to go. Now again, with the little grooves, you can actually turn it every so many degrees like that, right? So if you want to put a little bit more ahead, if you want to put a little bit more backwards, you could do that. And then the little boom arm here is flexible. I'm not going to turn it because I've gotten it into the perfect position from what I like with my setup on this VR headset. But anyways, it can bend, very easy, very flexible to whatever direction you want to kind of maneuver it in different ways. Again, you don't want this thing facing your mouth, okay? If it's in front of your mouth, you're gonna hear a lot of wind, a lot of plosives. It's gonna sound like garbage. You want this thing maybe more kind of like in line with the direction of your mouth, off to the side like this, so it's still picking up your voice, but it's not in like the middle of the wind, the breath coming from your mouth. I guess the stream of breath, the breath stream, if that's even the right phrasing, I don't know. You don't want it in front of there because again, it's not going to sound good. You kind of want it off to the side where it's picking up the sound, nicely, but it's not in front. Obviously, if it's in front, you're going to hear those plosives, which is again, the big kind of burst of wind coming from your mouth when you say the P's. And also, it's probably going to sound a little bit more distorted because it is meant to be more off to the side like this, okay? So do keep that in mind. Again, you can stick this to whatever you want. These little magnet things. Again, they give you 2 of these. So if you want it on 2 different headsets or 2 different things, maybe you got one on your VR, maybe you want another one on your headphones, your gaming headphones, whatever. However you want to do it, they give you some options. So that's pretty much everything with the setup and everything with, what comes with it and all that. I guess now the only thing to do is test this thing out, see how it sounds, and take it from there. So what I'm going to do is we're going to test it in 2 different ways. We're going to test it in terms of just raw quality, and then, what you could do with some of the post, right? Because there's a lot you could do in post with EQ and compression and different things like that. So we'll talk about both sides things. So let's jump into that portion right now. Okay, so I look a little bit silly, but I'm going to be going and bouncing back and forth between these 2 microphones. Now I'm going to have to boost the gain a little bit, probably, most likely. But I'm just going to show you guys what each one sounds, I guess, raw in this section, because I'm recording on both. I didn't want to throw on my VR headset, and I didn't want to stick my other sticky magnet to something else, so I'm holding it, which again is probably not the best application, but it is what it is. So again, keep in mind, right now I am in Cardioid, which is unidirectional, meaning it's only receiving on the one end. And so again, we're just going to bounce back and forth between this. You can see randomly during this clip, I'm just going to be cutting back and forth, and I'll let you guys know up on screen which one's which, so you guys can see exactly what you're listening to, and that will be that. Okay, so now you've heard them both back to back with a little bit of kind of, normal sort of stuff. Now I'm going to try to do a back-to-back with some just quick, like, kind of comparison of post, right? So with my Shure SM7B, typically I have like a little bit of a de-esser, very light de-esser. I don't need too much because it is a dynamic mic. I have a little bit of a compressor, and I also have a little bit of a noise suppressor to reduce background noise. I don't actually EQ my Shure SM7B, believe it or not. Maybe I should, I don't know, but I don't. I don't feel the need to because I like the way it sounds, out of the gate. So what I'm going to do is that, right? But with this one, I'm going to apply the same settings, but the only difference is that I'm going to tweak the EQ because I do believe that it needs some EQ. Personally, I think we need to kind of, smoothen out the sound a little bit. We need to, maybe cut out some of the harsher sounds because it is a little bit more of a sensitive mic, and being wireless, of course, you're going to get, a little bit of a different frequency response from this thing. So I'm going to EQ it a little bit as well. I'm going to try, like I said, to maybe cut out some of the harsh stuff in the mid-range. So I'm thinking probably maybe a little bit, maybe around like the 1K range, maybe maybe a little bit around the 4K, because I've noticed, especially when I record music, 4K typically is like my nightmare spot. So I might dip that a little bit. I might dip a little bit higher in like the 11K range, just kind of bring the super trebly stuff down a little bit. And I might, I might try to like boost a little bit in the lower, like the higher low range, like the 300 hertz, maybe 3 to 400 ish. Might boost that a little bit. And then, like I said, between 5 and 1K, we're just going to I'm going to kind of tweak. So I don't know. This is going to be a quick setting just to kind of see. And then from there, I'm going to have to tweak it a little bit further and try to find, my solidified EQ that I want to run with. But anyway, so that, again, I've been bouncing back and forth a little bit here with the post processing. So you can see what, my Shure SM7B sounds like with, my typical post processing, and what this mic is going to sound like with a little bit of work done to it. So like I said, you can really clean up the sound of this microphone if you don't like it, if you want to shape it a little bit differently with some EQ and post process. Just make sure you know what you're doing with EQ, because you can ruin the sound very quickly. You can destroy the sound. You got to know what you're doing. So look up some YouTube tutorials. It's a very tricky process. I don't even know fully what I'm doing half the time. I've been, trying to learn this for a long time, and I have friends that are very good at it that help me out with understanding it better. So anyways, do that. So that's a little bit of a test. I want to do something else though. Okay, so I'm going to take the post-processing off because I want to show you guys what it sounds like on both sides. So this is going to be cardioid, unidirectional from this side, but I'm going to turn it around. So let me turn it around. And now you can hear what it sounds like from this side. So again, it's going to sound like I'm a little bit more in the distance, or at least it should, because again, I am facing the other side. And this is, again, cardioid. So it's not picking up this side, it's picking up on the opposite side. So this is kind of like, I guess, more if you have someone talking right beside your face, then how it's going to sound. I'm going to move it away from my mouth. So this, I don't know if you guys can hear me, but the microphone is like 2 feet away from me, maybe a foot and a half, 2 feet. And again, it's pointing away from me still. Now it's still in the same distance from me, but now it's pointing towards me. Again, we're still in cardioid. It's pointing towards me, but it's about, again, like an arm's length away from me. I'm holding it as far as I possibly can, which is about maybe like a foot and a half. And again, I'm kind of talking away from it. I'm not talking directly into it. So this, you can see how the picks up the room sound. Now I'm going to switch it over to omnidirectional, which means it's going to pick up from both sides. We're going to do this test again. Okay, so now redoing this test in omnidirectional, you can see that it is right beside my face, and how it sounds when it's beside my face in omnidirectional. I'm going to turn it on the other side, and it should, in theory, still sound similar because, again, it's picking up from both sides. So now it's on the other side of my face. Again, this is still omnidirectional, so you should still be able to hear me fairly clearly. I'm looking at my wave chart over here, and it seems pretty clear. Maybe slightly quieter. I'm not sure. I'm not going to know until I check it out and post myself. So this is that. Now I'm going to hold it again, still facing away from my face, an arm's length away, like we did earlier. So again, this is an arm's length away from my face. Not really looking at the microphone. It's kind of off to the side like this way, about, like I said, a foot and a half, arm's length away. Omnidirectional. This is what it sounds like when it's facing away. So this is the outside of the microphone. Now I'm going to turn it around. We're going to do the inside. So this is the inside of the microphone, arm's length away still. So again, this could be the side it typically would be on the side of your face. Again, this is still omnidirectional, so it's picking up from both sides of the microphone, about a foot and a half away from my face, so you guys can hear that. So that's how that sounds. Now I'm going to turn we're back in cardioid, but I'm going to turn the microphone from cardioid to omnidirectional and back to cardioid. I'm not going to talk in omnidirectional, but the reason I'm going to switch it on and off in that way is so you can hear what the clicking sounds, right? What is the sound? So just be wary, headphone users. And I'm going to put post on this one, I think. No, let's not put post. Let's just go raw. So I'm going to switch it on and off, so be wary. Okay, so you should have heard a double click. I was turning the switch on to omnidirectional, then I turned it back to cardioid, and you hear how that sounds. Now I'm going to push the button on the microphone and mute it and see how that sounds. Now it should be unmuted, and we're good to go. That's it. We're unmuted. Again, I'll do it from this side so you guys can see the blue light and then the red light. Now I'm still talking and you should be able to hear me just fine. So again, that is what that is. So this is the bulk of the testing. But one last thing, just to see what does it look like on the PSVR2 headset. I'm going to put the headset on and I'm going to just talk with it a little bit with the headset on. I'm going to move around. I'm going to be completely blind, but hey, it's for the sake of this video. So let's check that out really quick just for you VR users who want to see what it looks like on the VR headset as well. Alright guys, so this is just like a quick little A and B. So this is what my Shure SM7B normally sounds like when it's like super far away from me and I have to, well not super far, but it's like a lot further than it should be, and I have to crank my post a little bit, so I have to add like an extra 5 to 7 decibels roughly. So this is what that sounds like. So this is kind of my typical setup. I'm going to show you what this mic sounds like on my VR headset with my post processing. So it's going to be with compressor and all that good stuff as well. So let's switch over to that. This is what this sounds like. So now I'm talking on this microphone, and the cool thing is, again, I can move around, right? I can completely turn my back to you guys, and it doesn't even matter because I'm still talking. You can hear me perfectly. And that's the beauty of this thing with VR, right? Again, I might be able to still tweak this thing, you know, move it. If you're wondering how it sounds when I move the headset, like, so that's just me moving the headset around, fiddling with that. If I fiddle around with the mic, maybe a little bit. Where's the mic? There it is. So that's just me fiddling around with the mic a little bit. You know, maybe I'll unclip it, clipped it back on, and that's pretty much that. So I think it sounds pretty solid from, you know, a couple of quick tests I did, but I'll give you my final thoughts, my conclusion in the next segment. But again, I want to give you guys a quick test on, you know, how this works and how this looks. So again, you know, I can do whatever I want in VR. You know, I can move around. It's going to be great in that sense, right? Because I don't have to do anything. But as said, being a wireless microphone and being the fact that I'm in VR, I don't know if it's, you know, disconnected or something, you know, there's a technical bug. So I'm still going to use my Shure SM7B recording in the background as well. I would obviously highly recommend you doing that if you are going to use it for VR, just so you have a backup, right? Just in case. You always want that backup audio, because again, this is a wireless device and you never know what happens, right? I think wireless devices may be more prone to technical issues, but you know, I don't think you will run into any issues, but just in case, having that backup room mic is always nice to have. So again, let me know what you guys think of how this thing sounds, but let's go ahead and give our final thoughts and conclusion to this microphone. Okay, so let's try to wrap this up as concisely as possible. We've already made this review very long, but there is a few different angles I need to take with this thing. So I've spent the last couple days basically trying to tweak this and EQ it and different things like that. So all the settings that you heard in my testing that said ModMic with post, that would have had the EQ stuff that I finally came across. And so this section is recorded like a couple days later after I tried to use it for a while and do a bunch of testing. Huge thanks to my good friend Connor for putting up with me and helping me get the EQ right. He's way better at it than me. And we finally got the EQ to a place where I think it sounded a little bit better. Again, you got to keep in mind, I'm a very, very picky person when it comes to audio and microphones. You know, it's just kind of what I've grown up with. You know, I've grown up with you know, playing and recording music and then getting into the content creation scheme of things and different things like that. I'm very particular, I guess you could say, right? So maybe not everyone's gonna be as picky as me, but who is this thing for, and do I recommend it? I recommend it in certain instances. So I'll say that if you're trying to use it as your main, like if you're a content creator, you're trying to use it as your main microphone, I would not use it as your main microphone unless it's for specific kinds of content, which we'll talk about in a second. But if you're sitting at your desk, you're playing flat screen games, you're doing whatever else, podcasting, whatever else, I would highly recommend getting an XLR microphone. If you can afford it, get a Shure SM7B because it is the industry standard for a reason. Shure even has a little brother version that also has a USB and an XLR cable plug-in as well. It's a little bit cheaper, things like half the price, things like $200 or something. That would be a great option as well. So this is not meant to be a main driver. This is meant for very specific circumstances. I don't think this replaces having a main mic as your driver. But if you are someone who maybe you want a microphone that sounds better than your wireless, or it's not wireless, but better than microphone on your gaming headset, then I would highly recommend this for that. Because let's be honest, every gaming headset that I've tried, the microphone sounds like trash. I have these Astro A40s, which are pretty expensive headphones, and the speakers, they sound really good. I mean, there's a reason I've been using them for so many years. I really love the way they sound, but the microphone, it sounds really bad. It doesn't sound very good at all. It has a lot of that, what I would call telephone effect. It kind of has very harsh sound. It doesn't sound very good at all. So if you want to have a better quality microphone for your gaming setup, for your gaming headset that you can just stick on your headset and away you go and whatnot, then I would highly recommend this thing because it is very, very good in that regard. It sounds way better than even some expensive gaming headset microphones. I don't know why those companies always cheap out on the microphones, but they do, and it's a real shame. So that is definitely one instance where I'd highly recommend this. The other instance is for VR. Now there's two sides to VR. There's the content creator side, and then there's just kind of the gamer side, right? So from the gamer side of things, obviously, if you don't know, the PSVR2 is a built-in microphone. I don't know, I haven't tried many other VR units, so I don't know about that, but it has a built-in microphone. And from what I've heard other people sounding like on, like games like Pavlov online, where there is a lot of public voice chat, it doesn't sound the greatest. It's not the greatest sounding microphone. So in that instance, I would say that if you want, a better microphone to kind of sound a little bit better for, online and, if you're playing with friends and whatnot, then I think this is a great microphone. The other thing too, right, is that because this is wireless and it can plug directly to your PC, you can also just Discord your friends, right? So you can just be in your VR headset and talking through Discord with this microphone, which is also another huge plus. The other side of it is the content creation side, right? So if you're a content creator, like I said throughout this video, you don't have a lot of options, okay? You have an option, like I said, you have your desk microphone, which you can kind of push back from you and just try to make sure that you're always in the general direction. But one thing I've done, and you may have seen through my VR videos, is that I'm always kind of like feeling for my microphone to make sure I'm still pointing in that direction, right? Or I'll feel something on the floor that I know is in that general direction. I'm always kind of like obsessing and like, am I still facing my microphone? Can you guys still hear me? And so that's the big problem. There are shotgun microphones, but that's still a problem because it's a stationary microphone. It might do a better job at kind of capturing from a little bit more of a distance. But again, if I'm turning around, it's the same problem. You got lapel microphones, which are the microphones you see people use on TV, which clip onto your shirt or whatever. Those are probably your best bet, besides having a microphone at your desk, because they just clip on your shirt. But the problem with that is that your head is moving independently of your body, and the lapel mics are attached to your body, not your head. And so if I'm gonna lift my head, the microphone's down here, my voice is projecting away, and sometimes you have to do that in VR. You gotta look up or you gotta look over here. And again, if I look left, right, or up, then it's projecting away. Or if I look down, then either, my big beard is going to cover it, or my chin's going to hit it or cover it, or, it's going to be too loud because I'm pointing down all of a sudden, or something like that. So lapel mics would be a great option, but I still think that there's a problem in that regard. Then you have these. Now the thing with this is, again, I just stick it onto the side of my headset, and wherever my head goes, if it goes up, if it goes right, if it goes left, if it goes down, the microphone stays in the exact same position from my mouth no matter where I go, and that is extremely convenient. So I think for recording VR content, this is probably your best bet. It seems pretty reliable. It seems like the battery is pretty reliable. Like I said, I would record a backup just in case. If you have a second microphone, have a room microphone, just in case this thing, maybe it dies or maybe it bugs out, maybe technology, anything can happen. I mean, even with something plugged in, something can happen, right? But just in case, have a backup. Because again, you are adding the factor that it is wireless. So I would use a backup. But I think for VR content and VR usage, this is the best microphone, the best option that you really have. In terms of wireless microphones, there's not really a whole lot that would be better for the price. This is $140 USD, if I didn't mention it. I will leave a link for it, an Amazon link down in the description below. It would be an affiliate link, so I will get a bit of a kickback if you do choose to purchase it through that link. You don't have to, of course, but if you do want to support the channel, that is another way to do do so as well. Like I said, you have two different modes on here, right? You got the unidirectional and omnidirectional. That's another huge thing. So there's a lot of options. The fact that you can just quickly mute it, and you know, you can play with it plugged in if you need to as well. So there's a few different options, and overall it sounds pretty good. Again, my biggest thing with trying to get the sound right with the EQ was the fact that I'm so picky, and I felt like there wasn't enough body on the low end. I felt like it felt kind of a little bit too thin, and on the higher end it felt like at times it'd be a little bit too harsh. In certain instances, you had a little bit more of that telephone effect. Not as bad as, you know, not nearly as bad as, you know, most gaming headset microphones, but it was, you know, it snuck its way in there. And that's kind of what I spent the bulk of my time with my friend Connor trying to EQ out, is all of that. So again, that's just maybe me being picky. You know, some people that use this just straight out of the box and they're fine with it, and you know, sounds good for them. But again, I got super particular with my sound. And I think after EQing it a bit, you know, we did a little bit of a boost in the 150 hertz ish range to give it a little bit of body. We did a little bit of a quick cut around the 1K because there was a weird frequency there. We did a little bit of a wider cut around the looking right here, 2700 hertz ish range, and that kind of took out some of the harshness and some of the kind of telephone-ish kind of effect. And then I did a very subtle, very slight boost around the 5K range to try to give it a slight bit more clarity, but I had to be careful with that because too much of that I would have reintroduced the harshness. So again, you know, that EQ setting is going to be different for every person. Everyone has a different, you know, vocal tone. You have to figure out your own. But I think if you're willing to put in the work to EQ it, I think you can make it sound really solid. And again, you guys can let me know from the testing you heard in this video, what do you think? Especially, you know, between the raw testing and then with my personal, you know, kind of adding my compression, my EQ and all that as well. How did you think it sounded? Did it sound like a professional quality microphone to you? Did it not quite hit that standard? How do you guys think it sounded? Let me know in the comments below. Again, if you want to pick this thing up yourself, I'll leave a link, or you can, you know, look it up yourself. $140 USD. Again, huge thanks to Antlion for sending me this, the wireless ModMic. I do think it's the best microphone for the PSVR2 and for VR in general. And I apologize this video is so long, but I wanted to be as thorough as possible, and I hope you guys appreciate that. So that's my thoughts. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. Like I said, to summarize, as your main microphone, I definitely suggest having an XLR microphone, but for something like for VR usage or for replacing, you know, a secondary microphone or for replacing your gaming headset microphone, highly recommend this. It's very solid, and I don't think there's much better you can get, especially in the wireless department. So yeah, hopefully that covers everything. I don't know. It's a lot to it. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, stay well. Stick around for more content. If you have any questions, like I said, I'll do my very best to answer them down in the comments below. Again, huge thanks to Antlion. Huge thanks to you guys for watching this video. And I'll see you guys soon in another one. Till then, game on. Catch you guys later.